Hello, everyone, and welcome again to another Teacher Joseph podcast. Today we're going to talk about describing things. You might think this is quite straightforward, but actually, in a second language, describing things can become a little bit tricky, especially if it's something that you're trying to sell. Or maybe if it's something which is not solid, for example, an idea or getting that idea across. For example, if you're trying to sell a website, sometimes it's not possible to give a good description for that kind of thing because you can't really see it, touch it, and feel it. It's kind of ethereal. Likewise, these days, because of COVID, when we're all doing things virtually, there is a need to describe things in great detail. In English exams, you're often asked to describe pictures. You're trying to sell things, you have to sell your product by describing it very well. You might think this is very easy, but actually in a second language it really isn't, because we tend to describe things in a second language using only one or two dimensions. The thing is big, the thing is small, the thing is red, the thing has a power cable. We only describe it using our eyes. And that's never going to get you very far if you're trying to sell a product or if you're trying to pass an exam. Let me give you an example. So imagine that you've been asked to describe a market. Okay? Just picture in your mind your local street market. This is a common IELTS exam question. So you're at the street market. What would you say? A typical answer might be the market is big, the market sells fruit and vegetables, the market is colourful, the market is on an intersection between two roads, it's, how else would you say it? It's selling things that I like. Okay, now if you think about that, there's a few things wrong there. First of all, you've only used the present tense. Okay, so in an English exam anyway, there's no way that that description is going to get you very far. You'd have to be at least using the usual tenses, past, present, future, maybe present perfect, but most importantly, comparatives compared to other markets that I've seen. Okay? That's the first thing I would say about grammar. But the second thing is you haven't really shown how that market relates to you. You've been asked to describe it, but in that question is your opinion about what the market is like. If I'm asked to look at a market, or you are asked to look at a market, we could see two completely different things. Everyone sees things differently based upon their own experience of life. So these questions are never going to be absolute, which is why you must bring in your idea and opinion about the thing that you're describing or about the thing you're trying to sell. Imagine for a moment that you're trying to sell a product. Let's say it's a brush, okay? A floor brush, the kind that you sweep the floor with. How would you try to sell that? Would you say, well, this is my brush. As you can see, it has bristles on the end. It has a pole on the top. And that's the brush. Do you think that's enough to really sell it? Of course it isn't. You have to give examples of how to use it. You have to show how it compares to other products. And you certainly have to do that in an English exam if you want to get any kind of good mark. The first description wasn't so bad, if we think back a moment ago to the description of the market, but it didn't really go into enough depth to actually show the best use of your English. If you don't show the best of your English every time you have a conversation, the problem with that is you're kind of selling yourself short, to use an English idiom. It means that you're not really using all of the great information that you have. Now, I have to say that we're living in a society, of course, which is very superficial and very shallow. So to have the opportunity to use the best of your English is sometimes hard. But by studying academia, reading classical literature, you can do it, and it will bring you a lot of joy. Getting back, though, to what would be the ideal description of the market, let's just look at that now. I'm going to describe my local market. Okay, so the first thing I will say is, oh, my local market, I really enjoy going there. It gives me such a great sense of warmth and happiness. Now, you can see there in my first sentence, a great sense of warmth and happiness. I'm setting the scene there for showing you how the market is, at least according to my opinion. Okay, I didn't just go in there and started to describe whether the market is square or round. I'm showing you how it feels. Okay, it's warm, it's friendly. Okay, so my next point might be something like, this market is so beautiful in contrast to the shopping mall around the corner, where you have to fight your way through crowds. Actually, this market sits on a very peaceful street, which is just off the busy main road. It's selling ceramics. Now, you'll notice here that I'm still in the present tense, so I want to get away from that. So I'm going to say, I remember my grandmother and I, we used to walk through this market once a week. It was one of her joys, one of the things that she loved doing. Okay, so I've now introduced the past tense to get away from the present tense. I've already used a comparative compared to the shopping mall. Okay, I'm going to use a conditional now. If that market wasn't there, I think I would be very sad. Even though there's only around 6 stalls, the people always look very serene. Not only the people who operate it, but the people who are there examining things. That could be because the market is only open in the mornings during the week. So perhaps it's because it attracts an older genre or an older person who might want to buy things there. So another comparative was brought in there. I could use an English proverb at this time. It is said that you get what you pay for. So the market would be a little bit more expensive than other markets, but I would say it's well worth the money. Okay, so what tenses have we used so far? Well, we certainly used the present tense, we've used some comparatives, we've used a conditional, and more importantly, we used some adjectives to set the scene. That opening sentence of this market being warm and friendly really did kind of dictate exactly what that market is going to be like. Now, if you compare that simply with the market is big, the market is small, the market is round, the market sells fish, it's a little bit different. Let's just quickly go over how that would be if you're trying to sell a product. Okay, so imagine that I have a cup. Okay, now a cup is a cup. You drink things from it, coffee and tea. How would I describe that cup? Would I say, yeah, the cup is kind of brown colored, it's fairly large, and would hold maybe a litre. I'm not very good with the metric system because I'm British, okay? But let's just go for half a litre, okay, of water. You could describe it that way, but you're not really describing the beauty of the cup, how the cup looks, how other people relate to the cup. So I could say, for example, if I'm trying to sell this cup, oh, this cup is a beautiful cup. You can see by the shape of it that it's clearly been handmade. Despite the fact that it's been ravished by time, that's a nice way to describe the fact that it might be quite old and maybe a little bit discolored. It's been hand painted, which gives it a lovely feeling that you don't get from these manufactured cups which are produced in bulk. Okay, so again, you can hear the difference there. You're talking about the soul of the thing. You're not just describing it. And this is really what you're aiming for in any exam or in any product that you're trying to sell, because you have to show how much you believe in it. You know, I have one of these cups at home, and it gives me such joy looking at it, not only because of its colors, because it's been hand painted, but also because of the way it interacts with light, because when the light hits it, it seems to light up the whole room. Okay, so these are just some different ideas. This is what you have to get to when you're describing things. You don't have to become Shakespeare, but for the purposes of an English exam or a product you're trying to sell, you really need to be going beyond the material thing in front of you to bring in other senses, not just what you see. All right, so there we are. I mean, how you would describe a picture in an exam exactly goes much deeper, because usually in exams they give you two pictures and they ask you to compare them. So you've obviously got more scope there to go a bit deeper, but these are just a few pointers. I hope you've enjoyed this. Have a wonderful day. See you.